Hello and welcome to our 7-8 minutes of weekly Torah talk. Our guest today is Rabbi Galia Sadan of Congregation Bet Daniel in Tel Aviv. Hello Galia, thank you for being with us.
Hi, thank you for having me.
Our parsha is Vayelech, and in this parsha we recount the events of Moses' last day. I am 120 years old, he says to the people. He transfers the leadership to Joshua and concludes writing the Torah in a scroll which he entrusts to the Levites for safekeeping in the ark. The mitzvah of Hakel, to gather, is given every 7 years during the festival of Sukkot of the first year of the Shemitah cycle. The entire people of Israel should gather at the temple where the king should read to them from the Torah. Vayelech concludes with the prediction that the people of Israel will turn away from the covenant with God, causing him to hide his face from them, but also with the promise that the words of the Torah shall not be forgotten out of the mouth of their descendants. The parsha begins with the following pasuk, Vayelech Moshe vayidaber et hadvarim haele el kol Israel, and Moses went and he spoke the following words to all Israel. So Galia, is this a sad parsha because we are nearing the end?
Well, I think that's the question. First of all, we should remember that this is actually the first parasha of the year, which is quite significant, right? We just had Rosh Hashanah, and this is now, oh, there's my cat. Okay, I don't know if you can see her. Let me put her down. So, anyways, she's a very good Torah studier.
Okay.
By the way. Anyway, so this is the first parasha of the year, and it's also the Shabbat that is called Shabbat Shuvah or Shabbat Tshuva, the Shabbat of returning back to our good ways of repentance. We're in the midst of the days of awe. So I don't think it's a sad parasha, but it's certainly a parasha that brings us to ask ourselves, where are we in our lives and where are we heading? Vayelech Moshe, where are we going to go? Where are we heading? And I think that in that sense, the parasha or God is trying to kind of encourage Moshe not to despair, not to feel sad for him not getting into the land of Israel, the promised land which he had hoped for 40 years, but rather to look back at his achievements, which are kind of great. And you know, the poets, the ancient poets that wrote the Piyutim like 1,000 years ago, put this question in Moses' mouth, and he kind of cynically asking God, why are you not letting me go into the land of Israel? Did I not take the people of Israel out of Egypt? Did I not lead them for 40 years during the hunger and the wars and so forth? And God, according to those poets, responds to things. First of all, wait a second. You've done so much. And the second thing is you will be privileged in that sense that you will be as wise and as vibrant as you are now to your last day. And I think that this is great. Just I'm thinking of looking back to our lives and, you know, being satisfied with all our achievements and to live a very long life, full consciously and with good health and vibrant as we were when we were young. I think that's a great privilege.
And you get a sense of, from this parsha, that Moses ends his life with a sense of satisfaction?
Well, I think that Moses is bitter from the beginning of the book of Deuteronomy. And I think that God is constantly trying to help him not to be bitter. And listen, this is the challenge, really, okay? We can end the last year and start a new one with regrets and with thinking of our faults and with feeling sorry for ourselves. but we just did a tashlich on Rosh Hashanah. And the aim of the tashlich is to put all that behind us, and then to start Vayelech and to start Shabbat Shuvah with a sense of achievement and satisfaction. And it is up to us. Okay, we can end the last year and start a new one bitter or satisfied. I think that Moses is constantly challenged by the fact that he knows that he's done a lot, but he can't cease feeling bitter for what he will not have, meaning leading the people of Israel into the land, the promised land. And I think that's sad. I think that in the next parasha in Haazin, we will hear that when Moses is kind of shouting at the people of Israel how bad they were, and it's their fault that he will not go into the promised land. But we're still with Vayelech. And the question is really, what do we do with that parasha? And I want to say that this is the end of Shnat Shemitah, of the Shemitah year. Right. We're just about to be celebrating Akel, which is a festival that we have here in Israel, a festival of studying and thinking of our lives through the Jewish texts. And I think did we really do this Shemitah? Did we let go of all those things that we need to let go? How long can we hold to our anger and to our sorrows and to all kinds? We say in Hebrew itchashbenut, which means that you keep score or keeping score with those people that have hurt you. And the spiritual and I think psychological process that we need to do since the beginning of the month of Elul, and through these 40 days, just like Moses had this process for 40 days on Mount Sinai, through these 40 days, the 30 days of Elul, and then another 10 days of Tshuva, the days of awe, the process that we need to go through is to let go and to breathe and to prepare ourselves with new resolutions for the next year. And I think that it's a nice thing to think of one thing that we are really happy with, that we've done and achieved this last year, and one thing that we decide to take as a project for the next year. It can be a relationship with someone that is dear to us, a relationship that has gone sour. It can be something in our character. It can be a decision that we have to make. Anything that will make us feel that really we're entering this year with, as they say, good energies. And I think that in a way, Moses is not such a good teacher, but God is. God is. He's trying to teach us and to teach Moses that bitterness and sourness of the heart will not take us anywhere, okay? And I'd like to say that we've read last week the portion of Nitzavim. Nitzavim is to stand up proudly. So one needs to stand up straight, proud for what we've done in order to be able to take one step forward. Vayelech. You need to be in order to go forward. And I think, let's go back to yet a third parasha, or fourth now, as we are discussing. And this is the parasha of the crossing of the Red Sea. After the Exodus, the people of Israel are there in Beshalach, the portion of Beshalach, and they're standing by the Red Sea, and they're crying at Moses, and then Moses probably had cried on to God because God is asking him, "What are you crying at me?" Right. And then he says, "Daber el bnei Israel ve'isau." You need to speak unto the people of Israel so they will step on. They will go forward. And they do, right? They step forward and then the sea opens. And it's wonderful. I think that we need to do this Vayelech. We need to take this one step forward, and then every so often the sea really opens and we see a way clearly and we know what we are, where we are heading. And I think that the frustration of Moses is that he wants to take one step forward. He wants to touch the ground, the soil of the land of Canaan, the land of Israel, the promised land, and he knows that this step will be denied from him. So perhaps what he needs to do is not only to stand up Mount Nebo and to look onto the promised land which he will not be able to touch, but rather to look back. Because if he will turn and look back, he will see the hundreds of thousands of the Israelites that he have succeeded to lead through the 40 very tough years of wandering in the wilderness, which is great. And I think that when we look back and we see our children and hopefully our grandchildren and great-grandchildren, we can say, okay, so we have a story. We have done something with our lives. And I think that the mitzvah of Hakel also give us this sense, because we gather together and we feel the strength of being together, of maintaining our tradition for thousands of years. This is the mitzvah of Hakel, right? To gather together and to study the Torah and to ask ourselves, who are we?
Which is
what is our identity?
A collective way of looking back.
The what?
A collective way of looking back.
Right, collective way of looking back and having pride of what we've achieved. And I want to say that if we're talking about ourselves as a group of people, we haven't had this great year here in Israel, and I think that we need to do tshuva as a society to correct our ways. We have this chance to look back, to say, okay, there are things that we rather not have experienced this passing year, but hopefully we will teach ourselves how to be better men and women, so we can educate our children and educate ourselves to really go forward in every sense, and not to go backwards into what we have already thrown in the tashlich, to go backwards to the anger and sorrow and blame and regret, but rather forward to hope and to happiness and joy.
Rabbi Sadan, Shana Tova, Shabbat Shalom, and thank you.
Shabbat Shalom, Shana Tova, and may we all have Gmar Chatima Tova.
Gmar Chatima Tova.